So before COVID-19 emerged in Canada, long waiting lists were a very common problem in the healthcare system. But after the pandemic emerged, governments postponed hundreds of thousands of surgeries and appointments with specialists. SecondStreet.org research calculated that over 353,000 surgeries were postponed last year, a number that has only increased. And no one probably understands this better than my guest today, who is Eden Janzen from Regina in Saskatchewan. So Eden, thank you for speaking with me today. I really appreciate you, taking the time.
Yeah, thank you for listening, actually.
That's all good. So Eden, you have a fascinating story. In your case, the government of Saskatchewan took the decision to effectively delay your opportunity in obtaining a kidney. Can you tell us a little bit about your situation and the background to how you came to being in the situation that you're in today?
Well, my kidneys failed when I was 21, and that was in 2017. And the year before, in 2016, when I was 20, that I was in stage 4 chronic kidney disease. And from then, a year later, they failed. And then it was a really rough summer trying to get used to treatments and being sick, really sick. And I had moved home with my mom and just been doing dialysis. My schedule has fluctuated a lot, but right now it's 4 times a week for about 3 hours, which isn't too much. Some people go a lot longer, but it's keeping me alive. It's kept me alive for 4 years, over 4 years now. So
yeah, and that's great to hear. But I can imagine how challenging that would be for a young woman such as yourself. And your journey navigating the healthcare system has not exactly been easy either, even before you were diagnosed with kidney failure. Can you tell us a little bit about that story?
Yeah, so I had blood work done when I was 13 that showed my creatinine was actually elevated. And I don't know, just things might have got kind of overlooked or wasn't really a big deal at the time. And so it could have been caught when I was 13, but just with, I don't know, it was just caught a little bit later, which by the time it was caught, I was only at 28% functioning left with my kidneys. And everything that I experienced growing up, all these symptoms of pain and swelling, it all made sense after that. I just thought, well, normal people go through all this kind of stuff. That's nothing new, but yeah.
Yeah, and it's strange to think that we live in, such a prosperous country where our healthcare system is funded so well to billions of dollars, and then something like that could happen, especially when it leads to such detrimental consequences like what happened to you in that sense. So for people who are fortunate enough to have never been on a waiting list for something as serious as what you're going through, can you help us understand a little bit about what you have to go through on a day-to-day basis? Like what's it like waiting for a transplant, and how does that affect your day-to-day life?
It's very hit and miss, especially with dialysis. I can go in feeling horrible and do my treatment, feel a lot better, or I can feel a lot worse, very tired, trying to keep up with my friends at my age especially. It's just, you just can't. You can for a while, and then it takes you probably like a few days to recover from an outing or something. Yeah, I found a lot of my friends are actually sick now. I don't really hang out with people that go out. Well, it's very time consuming. It's very inconvenient. So I'm not able to work. It's just, I've had a lot of, just my health has just gone all over the place, and it just continues to go downhill as the longer I stay on. Yeah.
And how often do you have to undertake dialysis as well? Like, is it every 1 or 2 days? And how long does a typical session take?
It's 4 times a week, and it's 3 hours is the machine time. And basically what that's doing, I would say it's like the human equivalent of an oil change. It cleans your blood, filters all the toxins out, it balances your electrolytes, and it removes fluid actually. So I can go in to dialysis and come out like 5 to 10 pounds lighter just because of extra fluid I have built up. So I have to really watch what I drink.
That's amazing. Yeah, I didn't even, yeah, that's little tidbits of information I wasn't aware about with dialysis.
Yeah, actually, because of that, you actually stop peeing after a while. So you just don't pee at all. And that's why you get swollen. So it's very interesting.
Yeah. And then obviously that's a lot to take for someone going through that. And then tell us a little bit about what your family have had to go through as well. I'm assuming, you're not going through this alone. I'm assuming you've got, a supportive family there with you. Has your, especially the fact that the government of Saskatchewan have, sort of suspended the organ transplantation program, that obviously means that you're going to be on dialysis for longer than anticipated. How has that affected your family as well? Like, have they had to interrupt their day-to-day lives to sort of help you out and see you through this process?
Yeah, they've had to interrupt their lives a lot, actually. When I first started, I didn't have the best relationship with my family. I felt I wasn't really understood. It's gotten a lot better. They're really helpful. It's just difficult because I am 25. I want to be independent and do things for myself, but I'm not really able to. But I know they're helpful, but they still have their lives too. So it's,
yeah, I can imagine your life has sort of, taken, it must be difficult for someone, especially as young as you, that you can't have that degree of independence that that you want to have. Whereas right now, obviously, you're taking 4 times a week to come into hospital and undertake dialysis. Yeah. And that must be quite difficult to deal with as well, I imagine.
It is really difficult, but you see, you deal with all of that, and then there's still life on the other side. It doesn't just stop or pause. It's just regular things, and then it's being sick on top of that, and it gets overwhelming.
I can imagine. Yeah, I can imagine. And I also read as well, because you've done quite a few interviews with media outlets across Canada, and I also read that you penned a letter to the Premier of Saskatchewan, Scott Moe, some time ago, where you voiced your concerns about, the waiting lists and the government's decision to suspend the organ transplant program. Did you receive a response from the government or any word about how they intend to rectify the effects of the program's cancellation, or if they intend to restart it in any time soon?
I didn't hear anything from him, or I heard from NDP, and they had invited me to go to the legislative assembly or the question period to kind of, but I have heard that they're talking about reinstating it by the end of November. I don't know. I personally don't think that'll happen. It's just too far gone to just come back, and I knew it was going to be delayed. That was inevitable, but to full on cancel surgeries and transplants, that's just beyond what I can believe. We need our organs to live, and I just said people dying from surgeries and failed organs is going to be the new pandemic here, because it's just, I can't wrap my head around it.
Yeah, I think most people would struggle to wrap their head around that as well. And I know you're not a healthcare professional, so it's kind of, it's not as easy as looking into a crystal ball really and predicting the future. But do you have any sort of anticipated timeline as to when you can expect to receive the call to say that, okay, we're now going to put you on the waiting list to receive a kidney transplant? Because I know it's difficult to predict that, obviously, because the government have, cancelled the organ transplantation program for the time being. So do you have any sort of expected timeline or any sort of gut feeling about that?
I do. Getting on the list is so difficult, and I have a surgery that needs to be done before I can even see myself on the list. And so I thought end of 2021, 2022 would kind of be my year, but I think it might be another 4 years, which kind of makes me sick to think about 8 years on dialysis, but it's just kind of the reality that we're living in right now. So
it's tragic to hear about, and it's obviously we're all rooting for you and wishing you the absolute best, and hopefully the government can greenlight that program once again so you can actually get the treatment that you need. So fingers crossed for that. I always like to end on a positive note as well. What are you most looking forward to once the organ donation program resumes and you finally receive your transplants? Like essentially, what will you be able to do in the future that, perhaps you can't do right now?
I will be able to eat and drink anything I want, like potassium I can't have, so I can't wait to have orange juice. I can't swim because of my tube, so or travel because dialysis is so, you need to do it all the time. So I really want to go to Alberta and shop and go swimming and just relax, and also to be able to pee again, because that people really miss that. That's what they said. It's the one thing they really miss doing.
Yeah.
Even in the middle of the night. So
it's the little things, right? I can understand. And it sort of brings me on to an interesting question too. I'm assuming like travel is obviously incredibly hindered for you. It's not as easy as you just saying, I want to go on vacation to Florida, and then you can be set up with a dialysis clinic in Florida. You have to stay put like where you are right now, 24 hours a day, pretty much.
Pretty much, yeah. You'd have to get permission from your kidney doctor, nephrologist, and arrange everything yourself. That's why I'd always laugh when they would do the screening questions for COVID and asked if we traveled outside of Canada. Like, nope, definitely not.
Of course, yeah. Well, Eden, I'm sure I share everybody's sentiment where we wish you the absolute best of luck for the future. You're an incredibly brave individual going through what you're going through right now, especially at your age, and all of our fingers are crossed that these surgeries are hopefully given the green light once again, and you can receive the kidney that you've been hoping for all these years. And for those watching today, we encourage you to view our videos and policy briefs about Canada's healthcare waiting lists and the research we have done on this issue. You can do so at secondstreet.org. And Eden, we wish you the absolute best of luck, and thank you for taking the time to speak with me today.
Thank you so much.